All right, man, peace. So, this will probably be my last video of the night. I honestly meant to do this video on Friday or Saturday, but like I said, due to scheduling and some technical difficulties, I was unable to do it. This is going to concentrate on the holiday, so-called holiday known as Easter, which some of you brothers out there and, sisters or whoever's listening probably celebrated today. And I just wanted to give some background on that holiday, so-called holiday, so that you get a little bit of a better understanding of what you're celebrating. All right. So now you're going to see here, this is from the CBS Morning News. You're going to see this anchor in the background. She has a picture of the Pope's mantle, his headpiece, and the crossing keys. All right. That's not for Christ. That's not for St. Peter. That's for the god Janus. I touched on him before in the Steph Curry video. The god Janus is the god of the doorways, meaning he's the bridge between the old world and the new world. All right. Basically, he's the pagan bastardization of the person in the Bible known as Noah. Why is that? Because Noah is the person who preserved life from the old world to the new world. All right. It's a deeper topic. I might touch on it in this video, or I might touch on it later on. I don't want to go on too many. I don't want to get sidetracked too much. We just want to concentrate on Easter. But anyway, this woman is going to touch on Easter a little bit based on them having a correspondent out there in Vatican City. So let's see what they talk about here.
We're spending much of this Easter Sunday morning visiting Rome, home to one of the holiest sites in all of Christendom. Morocco will be our guide.
Now, Rome is holy to so-called Christendom, but is holy according to the so-called Christian church. It's not holy according to the so-called Bible. All right. It's a big difference. Rome was known in the ancient world as Saturnia, Saturnia, due to the god Saturn that they worship. Right. Saturn was also known as the hidden god. Saturn is the Roman version of the god Baal or Molech. That's the god that you sacrifice children to. All right. He's also the Roman version of the god Pan, right? Or a Roman version of the god Pan. All these different gods are just variants of the same few people. All right. But Saturn is just a variant of the person known in the Bible as Nimrod. All right. Nimrod was known as a mighty hunter. Basically, after the flood subsided, he was the person who was able to bring a lot of civilization back to the world. He was the person who was able to subdue a lot of the wild animals, and he was the person who brought the building of cities back to the world. So he was venerated because of that. All right. And that's the person who's venerated in the Vatican. The term Vatican means if I remember correctly, the House of Serpents. OK, so now the holiday of Easter, so-called holiday of Easter, they try to tell you is in veneration of the resurrection of Christ. It is not. It is a day that's in veneration of the sun goddess, the Celtic sun goddess. But we'll expound on that a little more. Let's watch some of this feature.
Whether you're a lover of art.
And this guy, by the way, is a homosexual. All right. Mo Rocca. All right.
A student of history, or one of the more than 1 billion Catholics the world over, all roads lead to the Vatican.
Yes, all roads lead to the Vatican because Rome is the holy city of the god Saturn. All right, like I said, it was known as Saturnia before. Rome was set up as the chief center of the Christian church because after the Nicene Council in 325 AD, Rome was viewed as the most holy city. All right. So that's where the so-called Catholic Church was set up. The Eastern Church was set up in Byzantium. The Catholic Church, even though you have a lot of brothers out here who tell you about how the Catholic Church is for the so-called white man, and the Catholic Church was actually set up by so-called black people, believe it or not. All right. Constantine was a so-called black man. The 4 tetrarchs, I believe it was Diocletian, Constantine, Constantius, and I think it was Maximian. I can't remember. Or Maximius. I can't remember their four names. They were four generals, and they were all four so-called black men. They were also pagan. All right. The Catholic Church was set up to be an amalgamation of the teachings of the Bible along with the pagan teachings. Okay. So that's how they brought everybody into the fold. But the ruling people during that time period were so-called blacks. The so-called white man was put into he was put into service. He was put into a standard of what we call today servitude or slavery during that time period. All right. That is some history that they do not teach you about. Most of the Roman Caesars from the mid 2nd century AD onward were so-called black. I'll probably do some type of feature on that when I finally start to do the historical series. If it be the Lord's will, we'll see. But let's let this fool talk. All these things are pagan. You're not supposed to have all these statues. Now you see this dome right here. You'll see on top of the dome, you have a globe, and on top of it is a cross. That was a symbol that was used by the so-called blacks that ruled during the Middle Ages. It was known as if I remember correctly, the Globus Cruciger. All right. It symbolized the worldwide domination of the so-called blacks during that time period in the name of Christ, quote unquote Christ. All right. This is when so-called blacks ruled. This symbol was always used even before that during the pagan time period. I believe that the god Zeus also had the Globus Cruciger. But like I said, when they brought in the Catholic Church, they brought in a lot of the symbols of the pagan beliefs before them. All right.
Vatican City is the smallest independent state in the world.
Vatican City was known as a city-state. You have 3 city-states. It's Washington, D.C., Vatican City, and Inner London. All right. That's where the worldwide, so-called worldwide empire, those are the 3 centers of rulership. The Vatican City is the spiritual center. Inner London is the financial center. And Washington, D.C. is the military center. Okay. And that's why they all 3 have obelisks. All right. Like I've said before, the God of when these people talk about God, they're not talking about the God of the Bible. They're talking about Osiris. All right. Or as he's also known as Saturn.
Enclave tucked inside of Rome. Just 110 acres in area with fewer than 1,000 residents. But it draws more than 6 million visitors each year to the monumental St. Peter's Square and the magnificent Vatican museums. And at its heart, one of the holiest sites in the world, St. Peter's Basilica.
When the new pope's elected, he would leave the Sistine Chapel, say a prayer at the Pauline Chapel.
Most of these statues, those statues that you see in there are remodels that were done during the Renaissance period. All right, to make all the ancient figures look Caucasian. All right, most of these were remodels.
And then walk out here and go to the central loggia. And if you see the beautiful mosaic up there, that's the words of Jesus, "You are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church."
New York's Timothy Cardinal Dolan was a 22-year-old seminarian when he first visited St. Peter's.
Yeah, and most likely a pedophile victim as well. All right, please keep in mind the term seminary also means the place of sperm.
There are certain symbols, there are certain images, especially in the mind of a Catholic.
Allegedly.
Catholic that represents something awesome, and St. Peter's would be one of those. To see this close up,
all these images are fake. You see this? All this is nonsense.
You talk about something that would just shake you. It was great.
I try to imagine the different people who've walked through here. I imagine the saints, all these great figures that are...
This woman is a nut job.
...that are now up here that once actually walked through the square.
St. Peter, says art historian Elizabeth Lett.
Now, even here, you see that St. Peter, you can see this is a remodel. But St. Peter not only was he a so-called black man, he was a dark-skinned black man. All right. All right, one of his surnames was Niger, or in the pronunciation that we would have today, Niger or nigger, right, meaning Simon the Black.
Elizabeth Lev is at the center of it all, spiritually, architecturally, and literally.
The site of St. Peter's Basilica, St. Peter's Square, is all centered around the tomb of St. Peter, which is
Allegedly.
found 144 meters under that golden globe on the top of Michelangelo's dome.
Built on the site where Peter, the apostle and first pope, was crucified upside down.
I mean, allegedly. It could be that he was crucified there. But keep in mind, St. Peter was not the apostle to the region outside of Israel. Paul was. So is it possible that he was crucified there? It's possible. But it's also possible that is folklore.
Martyred along with other early Christians by the Roman Emperor Nero in 64 AD.
Peter said, I'm not worthy to die the same way the Master did. Would you crucify me upside down?
So when Peter's body was cut down off the cross, he had to be buried immediately. They stuck Peter in the trench, they covered him with some dirt, and that was the end of the man that was referred to as the Prince of the Apostles.
And does this instantly become a shrine, a place where pilgrims come?
Even though that tomb is so inauspicious, this is where the whole story begins.
And what a story. The basilica is a marvel. Started in 1506, it's the work of 12 architects and a roster of Renaissance masters.
See, like I stated, all of this stuff that you see in the basilica, this is all remodels by the so-called Renaissance masters. The so-called Renaissance was led by a lot of illuminist blacks and Caucasians whose ideology it was to bring back the standards and the morals of the Greco-Roman Empire. So the first thing they tried to do was to bring a certain aspect of degeneracy to a lot of the religious culture of the time. So that's why you see a lot of statues of people that were naked, like David, quote unquote. David's there butt naked with a fig leaf, things like that.
Serving 20 popes over the course of 120 years. What's miraculous, says Elizabeth Lev, is that it all came together so beautifully.
Imagine the dome. Looks like it's hovering above Peter's tomb directly below. And when the Pope steps up to his altar, underneath Bernini's canopy, stepping in the footsteps of Peter the fisherman, he's
not stepping in the footsteps of Peter the fisherman because Peter was never there. See, a lot of these people, they're delusional. That's what makes, quote unquote, religion dangerous. All right. The Bible is a book of history, law, and prophecy. It is not a book for perpetuating folklore. Now, I know a lot of brothers don't believe in the Bible. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But the Bible is a historical book. Whether you want to believe the certain aspects of it or not, is based in history. All right. So, unfortunately, a lot of people don't know history, so they associate the Bible with fiction. Right? Peter never walked through the basilica that was named after him, so she's just making stuff up. All right? He was never a so-called pope. All right? His job was to fish for a lot of these scattered amongst the people, but that's neither here nor there. This video is about Easter. All right? Easter is a solar holiday for the sun goddess. It comes from the Celts, who were so-called black people, believe it or not. All right, the Celts were so-called black, and the Celts, you have certain belief systems back in antiquity, in the ancient world, where sometimes they had a sun god and a moon goddess. The Celts happen to have a sun goddess and a moon god. All right, their sun goddess, his name was based off of the Babylonian goddess Ishtar. All right, the Babylonian goddess was the equivalent of the Egyptian goddess Isis. So she became known in Babylon as Ishtar. The Celts call her Ostara, right? Ishtar became Ostara. She was the sun goddess. That's why you celebrate the Easter on Sunday. It's the first Sunday after the full moon, during 14 days after the new moon. All right, it's the first Sunday that comes 14 days after the new moon. All right, so now the so-called eggs are due to the saying that a giant egg came down from the sky and the and the mother of heaven, the mother goddess, emerged out of the egg. That's why you have eggs on Easter. All right. This in an extended sense is where you get the black woman is God philosophy from. All right. It comes from the wife of Nimrod, right, who was also his mother. She was able to keep a lot of the practices that were created by Nimrod's father, Cush, who was known in the Egyptian philosophy as Thoth, Thoth. He was also known as Mercury in the Roman mythology. He was known as Hermes in the Greek mythology. He became known as the god of arithmetic, astronomy, science. All right. He was the man who set up a lot of the pagan rituals that are still used today. His name is Cush, for you brothers who know the Bible. In Genesis, the 10th chapter, he was the son of Ham. Right? Cush was the first scientist. You know, he was the super brain. All right. His son Nimrod was the great warrior. Now, Cush's wife was named Semiramis. Right? When Cush was defeated, when he tried to build a tower at Babel to bring the people together and make them confederate against God, because what Cush was doing was he was trying to bring back the belief systems that man was doing before the flood. All right. Now, once that strategy that he was trying to impart came to naught, his son Nimrod tried to carry on a lot of his beliefs, a lot of his practices. And Nimrod eventually was killed by Shem, the person known in the Bible as Shem. All right. He's known in the Egyptian mythology as Set. OK. He's also became an Egyptian pharaoh known as Samarkhet. All right. All these men really lived. They were just known by different names according to different cultures, because remember, the languages of the people were destroyed. They no longer had a unified language after the Tower of Babel. All right. That's why one of the terms used for Cush became Hephaestus or Hephaestus, right? Who's the Greek god of the underworld. He's the hammerer. Another term for that is the scatterer, right? A lot of what he tried to teach came to naught, and he caused man to be scattered. So he was known as the scatterer. All right. So now, in regards to Easter, his wife Semiramis, she tried to take on and carry on what he was teaching, but she went into a Great Depression after Nimrod was killed by Shem. And she was impregnated. She claimed that Nimrod was within her fetus. The spirit of Nimrod was within her fetus to get the people of the world to still follow her. And that's where Easter comes from, right? You're venerating her. You're venerating the wife and the mother of Nimrod. All right. It has nothing to do with Christ. Notice in the Catholic Church and these other churches, they'll tell you that Christ died on Good Friday and that he rose on Easter Sunday. But the Bible, what the book that they claim to believe in, tells you that he would be in the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. From Good Friday to Easter Sunday is a day and a half. It's not even 2 full days. You understand? That's why I say that people like her are bugged out of her damn mind. She's not in her right mind. But that brings me to something called Beltane. All right. And I want you brothers to listen very closely to this. It's a ritual called Beltane, which is a Wiccan, a Celtic Druid ritual. The main religion of the elite is Celtic Druidism. All right. And a lot of the what you call false flag attacks occur during what they call Beltane, right, which is May 1st. May 1st, that's what's called May Day. That's in commemoration of the man Cush. All right. When I say Cush, I'm not talking about weed. I'm talking about the person in the Bible, Cush. All right. He's the person, once again, who brought in a lot of the pagan practices. He kept a lot of the practices that man was doing before the flood. He reinvigorated them. He brought them back through seance. He was able to commune with the ancestors who were already dead. He was a spiritual medium. He had a lot of great abilities. All right. The man Cush. And May Day is a commemoration of him in the Celtic Druid tradition. They have 8 main holidays in the Celtic Druid tradition, which are all the changes of the seasons, the 2 equinoxes and the 2 solstices, summer and winter solstice, as well as the days that fall halfway in between. All right. Beltane is one of those days that falls halfway in between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. It always falls on May 1st. That's why you'll find a lot of these events get staged in between Easter and May 1st. So watch out for a major event between today and May 1st. All right. I'm going to say it again. Watch out for a major event, maybe something involving, I'm not even going to say, but just watch out for a major event between Easter and May 1st, because they always have one. Remember, they reported that Osama bin Laden was killed on May 1st. Hitler allegedly was killed on May 1st. They allegedly started the Bolshevik Revolution, the original one that failed, on May 1st. All right, the so-called Communist Manifesto, if I remember correctly, was first put out on May 1st. Why is that? Because the communists had their origin in something called the League of the Just, which was a Luciferian organization. All right. Karl Marx was taught by a woman named Joanna Southcutt, who was a Luciferian. All right. Easter is a so-called Wiccan holiday. It is a Babylonian holiday. It has nothing to do with Christ or the Bible at all. All right. You ask any one of these people who go to church on a Sunday, on Easter Sunday, what does Easter Sunday have to do with the Bible? And they don't know. All right. Now, if you look at Acts in the Bible, you look at Acts, the 12th chapter in the 4th verse, it'll say Easter, but it's actually supposed to say Passover. All right. So be very, very careful about these so-called holidays. Once again, and just watch for something between now and May 1st. That time period is called Beltane, Beltane. It always falls on May 1st. All right. So let's get a little last bit of this nonsense and let's see what they're talking about.
The Pontifex Maximus, the bridge.
Pontifex Maximus, the bridge, that's the title of the Pope. All right. He acts as the vicar between this physical world and the spiritual world, where he communicates directly with the spirit of Saturn. All right. I mentioned this before. That's why he wears the keys. He acts as Janus. All right. That is the god. That is the god of the church, of the so-called Catholic Church, is Janus, Janus. Right. That is the bastardization of Noah. All right. Another bastardization of Noah is in the Hindu religion, the god Vishnu, Vishnu. That is the half fish god. Right. He even has a 6-pointed star on his forehead. Look up the god Vishnu. Right. That literally means the man of rest. Like the name Noah. The name Noah means rest. The name Vishnu means the man of rest. Right. Why? Because Noah preserved life on the seas. That's why you'll see certain gods represented as half fish, half man, like Dagon, Dagon, Dagon. Right. The Pope wears the headpiece of Dagon. That actually is a fish's mouth on his head. Right. The Pope's headpiece. And the keys represent Janus. All right. Janus is also Noah. He has one face looking back at the old world and a face looking forward to the new world. All right. Janus was the god of ancient Rome before they brought in the Catholic Church. OK, and he's still the god of the Catholic Church. Once again, Vatican is the house of serpents.
Bridge between heaven and earth. Michelangelo designed the explanation of the papacy in the interior part of the dome.
Now, Michelangelo was a so-called black man, and he was a homosexual and a pedophile. All right.
The Dome of St. Peter's would be the crowning glory in the life of artist Michelangelo Buonarroti. And towards the front of the basilica, a much younger Michelangelo's breakthrough work, sculpted from a single piece of marble, the Pietà.
Pietà is the Latin and the Italian word for compassion, for mercy, for tenderness, a word particularly poignant for our present Pope. So Michelangelo there has the Pietà, in other words, the compassionate, sorrowful Mother Mary holding the body of Jesus as it was taken down from the cross. Now,
they tell you that that's Mary, but that's actually Semiramis. All right. That's who that's supposed to represent. They just claim that it's Mary. Mary was just a regular woman, young lady who got a message from the angel that she was going to give birth to Christ. But anyway, I'm running out of a little space here. But, I got the point across, brothers. Just watch for a major event between now and May 1st. All right? Peace.